Morning peeps, good morning everyone, how's everyone doing? Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, like, share, subscribe. Alright, let's do this. Let's start here. Teofimo Lopez wins lackluster decision over Jermaine Ortiz in a close fight. What this should really read is Teofimo Lopez loses decision against Jermaine Ortiz in a close fight. Teo didn't win that fight. He didn't. And I say this as a fan of Teo. You guys, if you watched the video I did yesterday, I was giving Teo a lot of praise. And the reason I say I'm a fan of Teo is because, you know, when you're watching a fight and you're a fan of a fighter, sometimes you try and give him rounds, right? If it's a close round, you say, okay, my guy won. That's kind of what you do. And I still scored that fight to Jermaine Ortiz. I had it 7-5, maybe even 8-4. Jermaine Ortiz won that fight. Boy, this happens too much in boxing. Look, I don't want to say it's a robbery, because if you've been watching the sport as long as I've been watching it, there's been some fucking awful decisions. It isn't that bad, but it's still bad. It's still bad. And if you're Jermaine Ortiz, you have a right to feel aggrieved, because a win against Teofimo Lopez just changes your life. It does. You become world champion. There'll be a rematch. You make big money in the rematch as well. You might even win that. And then you go on and on and on. And now if you're Jermaine Ortiz, I mean, the last, two of your last 3 fights have been razor thin, and you haven't got the nod. You haven't got the nod. Look, it wasn't a great fight. In fact, it was an awful fight. But that doesn't take away from the fact that Jermaine Ortiz won that fight. He did. I mean, if you scored that to Teo, I'd love to know how. I would. I'd love to know how. I mean, there wasn't much in that. There wasn't much in that in terms of action. There wasn't much in that in terms of punches thrown. Teo has the nice and exciting burst, right? 4 or 5 punch combinations. Not many of those landed. He lost that fight, people. He did. And look, I said in yesterday's video that what Teo is going to turn up. Are we going to get the Teo that turned up against Josh Taylor? Are we going to get the Teo that turned up against Lomachenko? Or are we going to get the Teo that turned up against Sandor Martin and George Kambosos? And we got the latter. We got the Teo that turned up against Sandor Martin. He's just too that, right? Too up and down. Too up and down. I mean, you can't be doing what he did before the fight. Well, you can do it, but you got to back it up. And what I mean is, obviously, he was calling out Terence Crawford and other guys. If you're calling out the pound for pound number 1, the big dog, you've got to put in a performance that warrants that. And he didn't. And he's lucky. He is very, very lucky. But back to the judging. I think one judge had it 117, 110 or 117, 111. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what we do when it comes to judging anymore. I don't think anyone has the proper answer. They don't. But this happens too much. And it's not even a case of once every few months. It's like once every couple of weeks. If you watch all the fights, and there's boxing on every single weekend, there's always a dodgy decision somewhere. There's always. And 90% of the time, that decision always goes the way of the home fighter, the A side, the big superstar. It never goes the other way. Very fucking rarely anyway. And that's a problem. That's a big, big problem. I sat down. When I was in Vegas, I sat down with a really, really well-known judge. I don't want to say what his name is, just in case I get a letter in the post. But I sat down with a really big judge, and we were talking about scoring fights. And I don't know how we got to this subject, but he told me the biggest amount of money he's ever earned or got paid was on a pay-per-view event. And I was like, huh? It kind of threw me a little bit. And maybe my head's in the clouds here, but I just assumed that you're either on a salary, so regardless if you're fucking judging a Mayweather fight or a Canelo fight or even a club fight, you're getting the same money. That's what I thought. I didn't know the rate goes up depending upon how big the fight is. Didn't know that. Again, call me silly, but I didn't know that. And if that is the case, that your rate goes up depending upon how big the fight is, that in itself is a fucking problem. Because I don't see how you then won't slide to the bigger draw. Makes sense, right? You slide to the bigger draw wins, and continues winning, and you continue judging those fights, you're going to get more of that. No? Am I reading this wrong? Let me kind of say that again. The guy told me that his biggest purse, and I don't want to say the fight, and I don't want to say the judge, because I know you guys are smart, you put it together, but he told me his biggest fee, whatever, or wage, was on a big pay-per-view fight. So I was like, I remember going back to my hotel thinking, well then, surely it's in your interest to always go the way of the bigger fighter, because then if you get those fights, you get a bit more coin. If you go the way of the underdog, the no name, right, the low draw, you get those fights, you ain't going to get paid that well. I don't know, man. Boxing needs, I don't want to say it needs a reset button, because it's been a good couple of years, I think, in the world of boxing. So many big fights. We're going to talk about a big fight that was announced or going to be announced soon, which everyone's leaking now. So I don't want to say that. But things like this just really annoy me, because it changes your life. It changed your life. I mean, you go back to Jack Catterall, Josh Taylor. I mean, fucking hell, that changes his life. Jack will probably never, ever fight for undisputed again. He might not even fight for a world title again. That fight could have changed his life. It went the way of Josh Taylor, and Jack Catterall, it looks like he's trying to do the get back. But the rematch, he would have got paid silly money. He would have been the world champion. He would have been undisputed in that on his CV forever. And it just goes. Again, George Kambosos, Maxi Hughes. Maxi Hughes won that fight. Tasha Jonas, Michaela Mayer. Again, these are not robberies, but Michaela Mayer won that fight, I think, anyway. So I don't know, man. Tio's a lucky boy. They're not going to run it back. It was a crap fight. Jermaine Ortiz has said things like, let's run it back. You're not going to run it back. No one wants to see that fight again. But dude, I think you should have got your hand raised. That's what I think. All right, let's talk about the big fight that I think Mike Coppinger tweeted about it today or yesterday. And that's Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia, done, Vegas. I think the date's April 22nd, I think. Big fight. That's a big fight. I'm guessing it's DAZN, right? Both are DAZN fighters, or at least have had, in Devin's case, his last fight was against Prograde on DAZN. And obviously Ryan Garcia is Golden Boy DAZN. So it looks like that'll be a DAZN fight. And that's a big fight for DAZN to get. If you're Devin Haney, it's big fight after big fight after big fight. I mean, this boy must be getting paid. I mean, his run right now is a good run as well. It's a solid run. Loma, Prograde, Garcia, solid. There will be some that are like, okay, well, 1 second, he should be fighting the other champions at 140 and some of the bigger names. I'm sorry. Ryan Garcia comes on the table, you take it, because you know that's a big one. And Ryan Garcia ain't no bum as well. Do I expect Devin to win? Yeah, I think Devin will win. But Ryan Garcia is no slouch. He's no slouch. And by the way, credit to Ryan. I mean, Ryan's proof. All these fighters, a lot of these young fighters say they want the smoke, and you just don't know if it's true or not. Ryan's proof that he wants to smoke. I mean, in his short career now, he would have, I say short career, but you know what I mean? He would have fought Gervonta and Devin. You know, that's fucking solid. I think he said that when he spoke to Floyd, because initially I know they were looking at Ryan Devin, and then it went to Ryan Rowley, right? It went that way because he said that Floyd said, why fight Devin, fight Rowley. Like, fight Rowley, get a belt, and then, you know, you versus Devin is belt versus belt. But obviously, Rowley's gone elsewhere, Isaac Cruz, and Devin Ryan circled back round to Devin. I don't know how big, like, obviously it will sell out the T-Mobile. If that's where they're going, it will do that. I don't know how big it does in terms of pay-per-view. I'm not quite sure. There doesn't seem to be the heat there that there was, and that all sells, you know, that all helps, the heat there that there was for Ryan Gervonta. But Devin did do good numbers in terms of bums on seats, at least for Regis. And I mean, Ryan versus Gervonta did the highest pay-per-view last year. So Ryan's fan base is clearly here. It's a big fight for Ryan, this one. It's one thing losing to Gervonta. You don't want to, you know, in this kind of grouping of top young fighters, and, you know, the five I'm talking about. So Tio, again, Gervonta, he's not very young actually. It's Shakur, Devin, Ryan. Ryan don't want to have 2 L's already, and he's likely to get one. But at least he's in the fights. We shouldn't worry about that, right? I mentioned it just now. It's probably a bit silly. We shouldn't really worry about that. We should just be happy that these guys are fighting, that Ryan's fighting, that Ryan wants the fights. The call-outs are real. You know, as that fight got announced, I couldn't help but think about Shakur Stevenson. Like Shakur looks like, and I said this, didn't I? I think Top Rank have offered him, I think it's 4 or 5 fight deal for 50 million guaranteed, and he looks like he's going to turn it down and sit it out. I think he's got 1 fight left in his contract. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. If I'm him, I think maybe I look at what DAZN are doing. I don't know. Yeah, look, either way, right? It's going to be PBC or DAZN. He's going to go, sorry, PBC. I said DAZN, you know what I mean? PBC or Matchroom Golden Boy. Because obviously their fighters are getting fights. Their fighters are getting fights and they're getting paid. And they're getting paid very, very good money. So look, it's a good fight to look forward to. April seems like it's going to be a good month. Quite a lot going on in and around that period. And I think there's going to be a couple of really good fights announced very soon. Keyonte Davis beats down, stops Jose Pedraza in 6 rounds. I mean, Keyshawn's just a sensational fighter. It's that simple, right? He's a problem for anyone in that lightweight division. I don't know how he's going to get the fights that he wants. I mean, he called out Teofimo Lopez, I mean, on that show, and he probably beats Teo, but we'll see. We'll see what Keyonte does next. Anything else? This is going to be a very quick video. I'm just double checking if there's anything else that we can talk about. 2 secs, peeps. Let's see. No, I think, let's have a look. 1 sec. I think that really is it. Oh, by the way, Liam Dillon versus Reece Bellotti. I'm doing that fight on Saturday at the Indigo. I think they said it's sold out. What's the Indigo? 4,000 or 5,000. That's going to be war, you know. That's going to be war. And I'm not just saying this because, oh, he works for DAZN, he's trying to sell the fight. No. I've seen both of these guys fight. I actually did Liam Dillon's last fight in Newcastle where he won the British title, super featherweight title. And I've done a couple of Reece Bellotti fights. And these guys just are all action. Reece Bellotti's done well since suffering back-to-back defeats. His last of that back-to-back was Raymond Ford, who stopped him. And I thought, yeah, maybe that's it for Reece. But, you know, he's come back and he's had some good wins. Beat Akib Fiaz, beat Yusuf Kamari, and now he's got this one. And it's, I love domestic fights. I love it because, again, you win a British title. I then know where you are, and your next step's European. If Liam Dillon wins this, he might want to go for a couple of defenses to, you know, win the belt outright, or he might just scrap it and go European. Reece Bellotti wins this, he's definitely scrapping it and going European because Reece Bellotti's 33 and there's no time to waste. But yeah, I like that fight a lot. Liam Williams warms Hamza Shiraz. I've got the killer instinct back. It might not be enough, even if you have it back, dude, because Hamza Shiraz is just... Did you see the stare down, the press conference? The size difference. And look, I mean, to be fair to Liam Williams, he fought someone in Atlanta's Fox a few years back who's bigger than Hamza Shiraz. So it isn't always about size. But if Liam Williams can't get in, then there's a problem. And Hamza Shiraz actually can fight well inside as well. It's almost like he's gone away. He's found a coach that will help him use all his attributes to his best ability. And it's working. It looks like it's working. What else have we got? All right, guys, that's it. We are done. Yeah, we are. Oh, big shout here from Bomac. Keyonte Davis could eventually become one of the greatest ever. Steady. Eddie Hearn says big US fights on horizon for Conor Benn. Says offer's been made to Keyonte Davis. Next. Peace.